What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the hands-on portion of this class. Last week we got data joined, so we took our country shapefile and joined it in with fertility rate data from the World Bank. In this video we're going to be creating what's called a chloropleth map. Basically, a chloropleth map is you have values attached to different shapes on a map, and those shapes on the map are shaded based on those values. And so for this map, I think it always makes more sense to explain this with an example, so we're going to be doing that here. But for this map, our chloropleth map is going to basically show countries with high fertility rates are going to have darker colors, and countries with lower fertility rates are going to have lighter colors. So by the end of this, you'll definitely know what a chloropleth map is. So anyways, have the data pulled up that we had before, which is the country shapefile joined in with the fertility rate data. We still have this hospitals data hanging around. You can go ahead and just hide that by clicking that little arrow by it. We're not going to be using that in this video. We're going to come back to it later. So just focus on the country's data, and specifically the fertility data that we've joined into the country's shapefile. So go ahead and right click on the country's shape in this layer panel and go to properties. Open this up, you'll see that join, the join field is still there. We're actually going to go up to the symbiology, and this is where we're going to basically set the color for each country based on its fertility rate. So go ahead and to do that, go ahead and click single symbol up here and go to graduated. And so this is what this is going to do, is it's going to be like, okay, you have one column, let's color that column based on that value, which is exactly what we want, which is how we create the chloropleth map. So the first task to accomplish that is to actually set the column that we want to color based on. And for this, it's going to be that 2016 fertility column that was originally in the World Bank data that we downloaded, but is now merged into our country shapefile. So go ahead and click on this little arrow next to column, and you'll remember it's at the very end. It was at the very right of the spreadsheet when we were looking at it earlier. So listing it here, it's going to be at the very end, and it's just going to be 2016 _1. That's going to be our fertility rate for the year 2016 for every country in the shapefile. So that's exactly what we want. So after we have selected that, go ahead and go down here and do this little classify button and go ahead and hit it. This button's really nice because it will basically look at the high and low values in that particular column and automatically create color buckets. As you can see, it's already done that for us. So this is what it did after I hit the classify, is it created 5 column buckets, and basically you have this white all the way to this dark red. If your fertility rate is between 0 and 1.4, you're going to get this white. 1.4 to 2.8, you're going to get this one, all the way up to 5.7 to 7.2. That's that dark red. So basically what this is showing me is the lowest value is somewhere between 0 and 1.48, and the highest is about 7.2. So, and the nice thing is we don't have to go with this classify button. We don't have to actually go through the data and figure that on our own. I mean, you can do that. There is the option if you want to start messing around, you can. But I like the classify button because it takes care of a lot of the work for us. And you can see it automatically put it into 5 buckets. If you want to change that, which I will for this case, just go over to this classes on the right side and change it. It's set at 5. I'm going to go ahead and do 7. There's not a whole lot of hard and fast rules on what's the best amount of buckets. Just always think what's easiest for readers to understand. You can get into a situation if you have too many buckets where all of the colors start kind of looking the same, and it's kind of hard to tell the difference between like the 12th and 13th bucket. So be mindful of that. I'd say for this map, anywhere between like 4 and 6 or 7 is a good range. So go ahead and just play around with it. I'm just going to go ahead and we'll go ahead and just pick 6. So if you want to see what it looks like, you can actually hit this apply button, and you'll see some colors kind of change in the back here. If you want to close out of this, go ahead and do that. You can hit OK, which I'm going to do here. So now we have a pretty basic chloropleth map, which is pretty nice. As you can see, fertility rates in African countries is higher than other parts of the world. There are a couple countries that are the exception to that, but for the most part, the dark red is here in these countries in Africa. I'm going to go ahead and, I don't really like the color red in this situation. I think it indicates danger, which I don't think is fair for fertility data or accurate. I mean, having children is a great thing, right? So we're going to go ahead and change that red to just a neutral color, because you don't want people thinking, oh man, this is bad, oh man, there's something to do here, because we're talking about children here. So go ahead and right click on the countries again and go back to properties. It should open in that Symbiology panel again. If not, click on it and then go down to this little color ramp here and go ahead and click on that. This is where you created this gradiated scale of colors. Go ahead and leave color 1 as white, so we still want the countries with the lowest fertility rates to be a light color. Color 2 though, I'm gonna go ahead and pick more of like let's do a blue. Green I often associate with money. I don't really think this obviously doesn't have anything to do with money, at least not specifically this data set. So I'm not gonna use that. Again, I'm not gonna use the red or the orange. I'm gonna go with the blue. I think that's a pretty solid color for this situation. Doesn't really indicate anything. It's just kind of a nice neutral color. So I'm gonna go ahead and select that and hit it OK. Go ahead and hit OK again. Go ahead and hit OK one more time. So as you can see, we've got our chloropleth map here. We've got our dark blues and our light blues on the map. QGIS by default puts these black lines around the shapes, which I think can be a little distracting. It's a style preference, but for me, I'm not really a huge fan of them. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to remove them real quick. It's kind of up to you, but I'll show you what it looks like. So go ahead and hit right click on the country shape file. Go down to properties. You'll see this Symbiology is once again open. It's the default. If it's not for whatever reason, just click on it. And then go ahead and click on this symbol and hit the change button. And then you're going to go down to simple fill. And then for stroke color, you'll see this dark black right here, 000. It's the darkest black they have. So go ahead and double click on that. We're going to go ahead and get rid of that. You'll see there's this little opacity dragger right here. So we're going to go ahead and drag that all the way over to 0. And you can play around with it. You can see what 50% looks like if you want. I'm just going to go ahead and remove it all together by moving the opacity to 0. So go ahead and hit OK. One quick note, you'll see this fill color in here, this brown. If you remember earlier, the brown was sort of the default color that was brought up for these countries. At least for me, it's probably going to be different for you, but you're going to have some sort of color in here. It's basically getting overridden by this gradient color scale that we added to the map, the blues. So it's kind of a little confusing, but don't dwell on it too much. That fill color is not active. So go ahead and hit OK, and then hit OK again, and you'll see the same map that I had, only without those stroke lines removed. So now you've got the chloropleth map, and I think the countries kind of blend together a little bit better. But again, play around with it, see what you like. But that's it for this video. We just made your first chloropleth map, so that's awesome news. Next, we're going to kind of just show how to edit some data in QGIS just real quickly, and then next week we're going to really dive into sort of analyzing data and all the cool things you can do here with the program. So yeah, check them out. Thanks.